Hello, Tiger, to Mr. James Bond wannabe himself, Mr. Will Geddes.
Yeah, definitely a wannabe.
He literally just said, by the way.
Brilliant, a bit of abuse already.
He literally just said to a lady, he sat down and said, make sure you get my good side. And I said, Will, you don't have a good side, mate. You don't have a good side. No, of course you do. You're
Tastes like a dropped pie, mate.
You're beautiful. You're beautiful. Unlike the street.
Likewise, the mutual appreciation.
Should we just keep doing this for 10 minutes?
Just do this.
Yeah,
I'm sure the viewers will adore that. Yeah.
Yes, let's have a kind of a bromance loving.
Yeah.
The streets of Belfast, not so beautiful though.
No, not so beautiful. It's still too early to get any really precise figures because obviously I knew these. I didn't need to Google them on your prompt. But I mean, there's been something like 4 arrested for arson, 13 for civil unrest. I think there's a number of police officers that have been injured. But I think PSNI, and I've got some good friends over there and good friends who were formerly over there, I think they're going to be very cautious about what they actually, not necessarily publicise, but in terms of who they will charge. Because I think ultimately there's a little bit of leeway. I mean, I was really impressed with the PSNI yesterday in coming out with the nationality of the individual and then coming out with the rest of the information super fast.
Do you think they might otherwise have been advised against doing that by our politicians?
Oh,
well, have been in the
wouldn't
past,
that be a shock if they had been, Russell? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so look, I guess more to come out in terms of the enormity of the consequences of the unrest. But as I've been saying all morning so far, and to Stephen particularly, we shouldn't focus on so much the unrest, because that's exactly the distraction technique that our politicians want us to focus on.
Yeah.
We need to focus on the fact that these individuals are in this country, as in the assailants here, the criminals, as I'm sure this Sudanese suspect will end up being proven to be. It just reignites the immigration debate again and again and again. The question has to be, how many of these instances, how many London bridges, how many Rhiannon Whites, how many Stephen Ogilvies do we need for our politicians to wake up and say, OK, we now need to draw up the drawbridge on immigration to this country, particularly when it seems that there are, and this is the controversial point, there are certain cultures and certain nationalities that behave in a different way, and a way that I would suggest is incompatible with British values. Yeah,
a lot to unpack there. So I'll try and take each part, and if I miss some, forgive me. I was talking to the international medias overnight, so hence if I look a little bit blurry-eyed, that's why. And I think a couple of key things here, which have come as a massive shock, I think, to the general public. And the first of which was the fact that this individual arrived in 2023, and he was given permission to stay in the United Kingdom until 2028, whilst his asylum application was going through. So what you've got is a threat that is slumbering or active in the United Kingdom that's being probably supported with welfare, housing, food, mobile phones, and God knows whatever else. And they're sat here for 5 years. I mean, really? Really? The second thing I think, which is the massive shock to people, is how porous that border is between Southern Ireland and Northern Ireland. And when we voted for Brexit, I think one of the main reasons, other than getting out of the nonsense bureaucracy of the EU, was that we could protect our borders better. And I think what this has just demonstrated is that the First Minister of Ireland, for example, didn't do anything about creating a stronger border. Because this individual, this Sudanese individual, got into Paris, then from Paris flew over to Dublin, and then from Dublin got on a bus, Russell, and went up to Belfast. Once he got to, he then applied for asylum.
Whoever thought that Britain would end up being invaded by people on buses?
Well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, they've done it in Trojan horses in the past, haven't they? So, maybe a bus is a new Trojan horse. But I think the concern is that, and we would be naive to think that it's just asylum seekers that are using that corridor to get into the United Kingdom.
What you mean also in addition, criminal gangs?
And terrorists. Because they're getting into the United Kingdom, and then
Did you know from your contacts that is probably the case?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
It isn't
I mean, we're worried enough about them coming over on the dinghies, Russell. But if they can actually fly to Dublin, have a pint of Guinness, get on a bus, get into Belfast, take a flight from Belfast into the UK.
Isn't the first job of the state, government, whatever you want to call it, isn't the first job of government to protect us. And yet they're sitting there in their ivory towers in Whitehall, watching, reading the newspapers. I presume politicians read the newspapers, do they? Do they watch? They might not watch this, but they're certainly watching, I don't know, other channels do exist, BBC, Sky, whatever. They know what's happening on the streets. They know what's happening in terms of the threat to Britain by way of this unfettered immigration invasion, particularly those that seek to come here, maybe not this individual from Belfast, but those that seek to come here on boats illegally and therefore anonymously. That's the important thing. So we've got no idea who these people are. I mean, what must go through the minds of these politicians, particularly if they've got people like you that are advising them from a security perspective?
Well, they're not listening.
but do you think they have got, you know, MI5, MI6, special branches on, in their ears saying, I think not only is this an issue in terms of the people that are coming here to do us harm, and we don't really know who they are or how many are here.
Exactly.
But also that then leads to, as we're now seeing, the undesirability of the civil unrest that goes with it. I've said to lots of mates of mine and on TV and radio, to great criticism actually over many, many months, that if you allow Britain to be attacked almost by stealth, do not be surprised if the people of Britain rise up on the streets. Now, I'm not advocating it. I'm not saying it should happen. I'm just saying we're a proud nation of very, very strong people. Don't be surprised if people get so miffed and so angry and so irritated and so exasperated by lack of action by way of our government that they start taking the law into their own hands. And that's what we saw on the streets of Belfast last night.
Yeah, it's not incitement. And I think, and I've been predicting this for a few years, Russell, it's not a question of if, I think it is a matter of when. In advance of obviously the protest last night, I saw a circular that was through restricted channels that had been put out to various different groups saying these are the meeting points at various cities across the United Kingdom to demonstrate. This is going to continue. People are getting smarter about the dissemination of this kind of information so that they try to evade the authorities. Now, the security services have got enough on their plate without having to deal with another category of enemy within that could cause, obviously, civil unrest. But I think the problem is that there are so many different factors that are coming to play here. For example, in the United States, it's not uncommon to drive through a neighborhood and you see numerous American flags hanging outside people's homes. If I was to hang a St. George's flag outside my home, I'd be probably branded as an Islamophobe and far right.
You would by mostly Labour MPs.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
You remember Emily Thornberry did exactly that. But the serious point here is that, you know, the undercurrent in Britain because of these continuing attacks on us is one of exasperation, frustration, and so on. But Northern Ireland is a very, very different dynamic because of its troubled history. A friend of mine that lives in Northern Ireland rang me yesterday and he said, the problem you got with Northern Ireland, he said, is that it is still a powder keg.
Yeah.
He said you still have the two sectarian factions. You still have what he calls, these are not my words, but this is what this friend of mine that lives in Northern Ireland said to me last night. He said, we still have armed militia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we didn't see that last night, thank goodness, in terms of it going that far. But what we have to understand is that there are certain parts of Britain, I think, that will be far less tolerant than others, and that this could spread. The point about other areas, as in this isn't just Belfast. I saw a very, very similar thing that was sent to me by someone in Northern Ireland from a Facebook post, which actually also listed the towns and cities across the UK that someone, whoever, not me, was encouraging by way of protest. So the question here, and again, undesirable as it is, and we're certainly not recommending it or suggesting it, is that this now spreads. Do you think that's a real prospect?
I think it already has, Russell. I think it's naive for us to think that not all of the country has been affected by this. And one of the biggest concerns we have is that there's this disjoin between the Ministry of Justice and the Home Office in collating accurate data about attributed crimes to asylum seekers or to illegal immigrants. And we are at the very back of the queue in that capability when compared to our continental cousins in Europe. Germany is pretty much on top of it. Sweden, they've been doing it, but they've also allowed it to lapse, and so that all their statistics have gone out the window. Denmark's probably the leader in terms of categorizing and gathering and collating this intelligence. The biggest problem I think the general public have, and I'd love to hear from the viewers, obviously in Super Chat to you, is that we just don't know the size of the problem that we're necessarily dealing with. We're seeing pockets of situations, medieval barbarism like Belfast, for example, and we have no concept, even us in the security world, have no real tangible idea of the size of threat that we're dealing with because of this Trojan horse incursion into the United Kingdom.
Wow. Okay. Well, look, this is going to develop and develop. Let's see what happens over the next 24 hours. I dare say when I'm back on 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, we'll still be talking about this. Will Geddes, thank you very much. I'm going to bounce you out now because we're going to talk to an MP.
Well, go for it. Good luck.
Hang around by all means.
Yeah, I will.
Hang around by all means.